On this Friday night, the world of international relations turned on its head. Donald Trump has kind words for North Korea and calls out Canada. The president says Canada is taking advantage of the United States, even hints of changes to NAFTA, while Justin Trudeau insists Canada is no national security threat. So where is this brewing trade battle going, and what does it mean for you?
Also tonight, why the high-stakes summit between Trump and Kim Jong-un is back on. And if the president wasn't busy enough, he's also calling for Canadian comedian Samantha Bee to be fired days after Roseanne Barr lost her job. We dig into what this week revealed about comedy, racism, and sexism. This is The National.
Canada was quick to strike back against punitive U.S. steel and aluminum tariffs. But if you think that means the government's charm offensive south of the border is over, just wait. Even with new threats from Donald Trump to scrap NAFTA altogether, the Trudeau government will only step up its appeals. Katie Simpson has some hints of what's to come.
The government is taking its message to millions of Americans, including Donald Trump.
What do you feel as if the president wants from you in putting these tariffs out there?
I don't know.
The Prime Minister taped an interview today for the top-rated Sunday political talk show Meet the Press to push Canada's anti-tariff argument. The Foreign Affairs Minister will echo him on CNN's Sunday morning talk show and when she returns to Washington on Monday.
This is a moment when it is important for us to be clear and firm.
This is the start of Canada's lobbying campaign to kill the American tariffs.
This will be a truly pan-Canadian effort involving, obviously, all members of the government.
We're going to keep talking. We're going to keep listening.
The renewed offensive comes as Trudeau is vowing to defend jobs at home.
And I want you to know that just as we fought for you before, we're going to continue to fight for you every day.
The Prime Minister made a direct appeal to the steel and aluminum industries today, asking for patience. That's not enough for the NDP.
Will this government sit down with labor and industry immediately and put together a package that supports workers, protects their jobs, and defends their communities?
Chrystia Freeland is not committing to any aid packages yet, but during an interview with CBC Radio's The House, she appeared open to the idea.
We're going to stand with our workers and our companies, and this is also something that we're discussing and will continue to discuss with the province.
Uncertainty may become the new normal for Canadian steel and aluminum producers. Trump appears satisfied with the way he's shaking up the global trading order and mused again today about tearing up NAFTA.
But I wouldn't mind seeing a separate deal with Canada where you have one type of product, so to speak, and a separate deal with Mexico. These are two very different countries.
All right, so Katie Simpson is in Ottawa. Katie, Donald Trump has hinted before he would like bilateral trade deals instead of NAFTA. But I guess thinking about his comments today, what do they do to those negotiations?
It certainly won't help. Not much of what Trump has done this week is really being seen by the negotiators as helpful. Despite the new low in the overall trading relationship, sources are telling me that the NAFTA talks are still very much alive. But those negotiations are not the priority for Canada at the moment. Instead, the government is fixated on getting the Trump administration to kill the new tariffs on steel and aluminum.
Right, so it's Friday, a doozy of a week for the Prime Minister, the pipeline, and now this. Is it your instinct that this will end up being a defining week for him?
How Justin Trudeau manages both concerns really could be career-defining moments. And it isn't just his political legacy that's on the line. The outcome of both of these issues will have a significant impact on the future of the country.
Okay, Katie Simpson in Ottawa, thanks.
Thanks.
So the government says it will act to protect steel and aluminum workers. But what about other Canadians? There's a long list of foods and household goods that will certainly cost more to ship to stores here from the U.S. Does that mean Canadian consumers will be the ones paying? Jacqueline Hansen went to try to figure that out.
An old favorite summer getaway vehicle can't avoid Trump's tariffs. Almost all RVs sold here in Canada are built in the U.S., but made with Canadian steel and aluminum.
This unit would retail for approximately $26,000.
U.S. tariffs on the metals could push prices up.
Bottom line, not good news. On the U.S. side and the Canadian side, prices will go up.
This trade dispute could cost Canadians, and not just on niche vehicles. Canada's plan for payback means on July 1st, it will be more expensive to import U.S.-made strawberry jam, pizza, maple syrup, roasted coffee, orange juice, ketchup, and more. But the government says there should be Canadian-made alternatives.
We have ensured that these can be easily sourced from Canadian companies or non-U.S. trade partners in an effort to avoid any costs being passed on to Canadian families and consumers.
So Trump's push for Buy American may prompt people here to buy Canadian. Manufacturers like Heinz that moved their operations out of Canada could regret it, according to grocery industry analyst Marion Chan.
It's going to haunt them even more because now with French's being 100% Canadian made, it's going to be the natural alternative.
And in some cases, U.S.-based manufacturers could swallow the costs of tariffs for its Canadian customers.
Orange juice is already a fairly expensive product. The consumer may not want to pay more, so the manufacturer might not pass on that price increase.
But for other industries, price cuts likely aren't on the table.
It's very difficult for the RV industry to absorb a 25% increase on costs coming in.
For now, these RVs are made up of tariff-free parts, and the hope here is the trade fight won't last long enough to change that. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Whitby, Ontario.
Of course, Canada isn't alone in the U.S. president's bad books. Steel and aluminum tariffs were also slapped on the European Union. And as Thomas Degla tells us, the EU, like Canada, is fighting back.
No, I actually really like that. It's really nice.
Where better to chat about American trade tariffs than at a bar in London? One that could feel an impact if the European Union follows through on its plans.
It's going to hit the consumer straight away. And what we'll find is that, we'll have to start delisting and dropping a lot of our American whiskey.
Simo Simpson is in the whiskey business, and business is good.
Fantastic whiskey.
With 400 varieties in stock, a quarter of his revenue comes from U.S. brands alone. The thirst for American whiskey here keeps growing, only to be stunted, he says, if the EU imposes a reported 25% duty on bourbon and other U.S. whiskeys.
All it does hurt is the guys making it. All the distilleries back in America, it's just going to become too expensive in comparison to its sort of Scotch equivalent.
In Brussels today, the EU confirmed it's finalizing plans to fire back at the Trump administration for its tariffs on European steel and aluminum.
This is further weakening the transatlantic relations, and it also increases the risk of severe turbulences in the markets globally.
Hundreds of U.S. products face additional duties, from Harley-Davidson motorcycles to less lavish items found at home. Florida orange juice, American jeans, makeup, and the list goes on. Drastic measures, sure, but also this. Germany's influential Der Spiegel recommended today canceling the G7 summit and the show of supposed cooperation as Donald Trump treats U.S. allies like opponents.
If he just continues to get what he wants, he'll continue to ask for more, and it will never end. So at some point, someone has to say no, and to be honest, that's probably got to be the EU, and hopefully alongside others.
So this is a very limited.
Back at the whiskey bar,
Cheers, guys.
They're enjoying the American spirits for now, fearing this trade battle will lead to demand drying up.
That's very good.
Thomas Dagler, CBC News, London.
All the new tariffs quickly became the topic at the meeting of G7 finance ministers in Whistler, BC. And as CBC News heard from France's representative, Trump's bombshell has inspired a new name for the group.
On trade, this is a G6 plus one. There is one state, the United States, that have decided to raise tariffs on steel and aluminium, even if neither Canada nor Japan nor the EU countries are responsible for the overcapacities in steel and aluminium.
Le Maire went on to describe that meeting today as tough and intense.
Here's what else we're digging into tonight on The National. 2 comedians, 2 comments, and a whole lot of outrage. But what's really driving the conversation?
Plus, during last week's debate, they might have been at each other's throats. Now the PCs and the NDPs are neck and neck in the polls. The last-ditch effort to swing undecided votes in Ontario.
But first, back to Donald Trump's impromptu news conference today and the big news. The summit is back on. Without a doubt, the U.S. and North Korea have had one of the world's most dysfunctional relationships. But today, Trump announced they're giving personal dialogue another shot. So how will it go this time, if it goes at all? Keith Bogue looks into it.
That's Kim Young-choi, the official envoy from North Korea, arriving at the White House this afternoon, supposedly just to drop off a personal letter to the president from his leader, Kim Jong-un. Instead, the meeting lasted about 2 hours, after which Trump and his team made a show of giving their guest a warm send-off.
We'll be meeting on June 12th in Singapore. It went very well.
And just like that, the meeting Trump canceled a little more than a week ago is back on. The important change is that whatever expectations for the meeting had been, they are now explicitly low.
We're not going to go in and sign something on June 12th. We never were. We're going to start a process. And I told them today, take your time. You can go fast, we can go slowly.
But Trump says he truly believes that he and Kim both want the same thing, denuclearization. It's just not going to happen overnight.
He's not going to run and do things, but...
So what could happen at the June 12th meeting?
I think it's a getting to know you meeting plus.
The plus, Trump said, might be the signing of a peace treaty that would finally end the decades-old frozen conflict between North and South Korea.
That's something that could come out of the meeting, I think, really.
About that letter that Kim had delivered to Trump. At first, Trump said this.
It was a very interesting letter.
But then several minutes later...
And I haven't seen the letter yet. I purposely didn't open the letter. I haven't opened it. I didn't open it in front of the director. I said, would you want me to open it? He said, you can read it later.
An odd thing, but presumably inconsequential.
And Keith, we've been talking about this on again, off again meeting, and it's easy to dismiss this as indecision or inexperience, but what's your read of what's really been driving this back and forth?
Well, look, from the beginning, critics have said that Trump was just too eager to meet with Kim. You'll remember that he accepted the invitation from Kim almost as soon as it was made last March without even knowing whether they shared the same objectives for a meeting. And it's become clear since then that they have a lot of work to do just to agree on the terms of discussion. So what's happened now is that they've agreed to continue the dialogue, but to rein in expectations about what can actually be accomplished in a single session.
So then, is it fair to say what happened today is a sign of progress on process, but where's the substance?
Yeah, I mean, it's still clear that Kim has not been persuaded by the U.S. that he's better off without his nuclear weapons than he is with them. And of course, he knows that he wouldn't be in the bargaining position that he's in now if he didn't have those weapons.
Keith Bogue in Washington, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move from cutting a deal to finding a deal. Some Canadians had a stroke of good luck not too long ago when it came to their data-hungry phone plans. For a brief, shining week or so, Bell, TELUS, and Rogers offered to double the data at no extra charge for certain family share plans. Customers grabbed dream deals like 20 gigs for $70 a month, but hold the phone. The dream was for Manitobans only. And turns out, in Canada's wireless wilderness, Manitoba sometimes gets special treatment. Cameron McIntosh explains why.
I got a couple overages.
Tyler Fraze used to be like most Canadians, stingily watching his data.
Even when I was on the 10 gigabyte plan, I would get right to the max.
Not anymore.
Now I'm getting pretty wasteful with it, and I don't even put it on Wi-Fi anymore.
He caught a limited time deal with Rogers. Double his data, no extra cost.
So how useful is that to you? Oh, very useful. Right now I do an online marketing sales business as well, so my data gets chewed up pretty quick.
I'm always going over. I have 10 gigabytes, or I used to have 10.
Tiffany Shute got in on it too.
At first, I didn't believe it, but then I started to look into it a little bit more and decided to call Rogers, and sure enough, it was real.
So real, Bell and TELUS offered something similar too, but like Rogers, only here in Manitoba, where competition in the wireless market has always been a little bit different. For years, Manitoba Telecom Services, MTS, was not only competition to the big three, it had half the Manitoba market, driving prices well below national averages. Last year, Bell bought it out with conditions. including giving up customers and making room for a fourth competitor. ExploreNet will launch later this year.
Rogers, Bell, TELUS, it's almost like they're treating Manitoba as a completely separate country.
This analyst says the deals are about the big three scrambling to lock up what they can.
So there is going to continue to be a legacy of better competition in Manitoba than there is in the rest of the country.
In a big data-hungry country, turns out Manitoba envy is actually a thing. BC Rogers customer Pete Jensen took his frustration online.
But then you hear that, they're offering double the data for no cost in Manitoba, and you're thinking, well, why them and not us?
Rogers gave us the same answer they gave him: market conditions. While the deal was originally advertised until July 3rd, Rogers is no longer offering it. Neither are Bell and TELUS. As for Fraze, he sympathizes with your data envy, sort of. Got any buddies back in Alberta or in Ontario that...
Yeah, they're a little choked.
So 20 gigs, do you think you can burn through that?
Well, challenge accepted.
Only in Manitoba. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Now take one look at the latest price comparisons, and they tell a similar story. If you take Manitoba out of the picture, Canada pays a lot for wireless. On average, a basic plan with just a gigabyte of data is just over $70 a month. That makes us the second most expensive among 8 wealthy countries. Americans pay an average of $54, and Italy leads on value. Customers there pay just over $20, less than a third what we pay here. And that's for a data plan that would run dry after about an hour's worth of streaming.
Still ahead on the National, she was the first to the scene, and loved ones say she never really left it behind. Next, the paramedic who died by suicide after the Quebec mosque shooting.
Plus, the last-minute push to get your vote. Less than a week to go until election night in Ontario, and some of the party's last-minute strategies are starting to look a little familiar.
It's reminiscent a little bit of what the messaging we heard at the end of the U.S. presidential campaign when there was talk about the election being rigged. If we end up with a very close election result, this kind of language might turn out to be pretty significant in terms of how it undermines confidence in what the results will be.
The border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland is invisible, but people here know exactly where it is. Essentially, it's where I'm standing right now, and if you look over here, it actually runs along the middle of that river. People remember what the border used to look like. There used to be a customs office just off the road here to my right, and an army checkpoint just up the highway. The worry with Brexit is that along this point, which is the only point where the United Kingdom sits right next to an EU country, that when Brexit happens, there has to be a physical hard border here. That would mean a controlled border that has a customs office and a checkpoint again. There hasn't been a physical border here since the so-called Troubles, and the concern is that it might fly in the face of a peace agreement that was signed here 20 years ago to end the violence and also to open up these borders. As you can see, there is opposition to the idea of a physical border, and one of the major concerns here is economic. Anyone with a job or a business or land that straddles the border says the only option is an open border.
There's a lot of people would not be happy with borders going back up. This place, this area would have been very much like a war zone 30 years ago, and we don't want to go back to that again, where people are in conflict on the island of Ireland have to go through British checkpoints. We definitely don't want to be. Everybody's in a good place now, and I think it's best to leave it that way.
So a year before the official date that Britain is set to leave the European Union, the two sides have not yet agreed on how this is going to work. So this free-flowing border has become the main sticking point. Nala Ayed, CBC News on the United Kingdom, Ireland border.
When a gunman shot 12 people, killing 6 at a mosque in Quebec City, paramedic Andrienne LeBlanc responded to the call. After struggling for more than a year, LeBlanc took her own life. Today, CBC News heard from her mother and a fellow paramedic who knew her about saving those who work every day to save others. On the night of the mosque shooting, Adrienne LeBlanc was at the scene tending to the wounded. And it didn't take long for those close to her to start to notice a change.
She's kind of, I'm not sure if the word is correct. It's just like a sparkle. She always have a smile, and she wanna discuss about everything. And starting from that day, she changed. She changed a lot.
LeBlanc refused to talk about that night, but her life was beginning to unravel. She moved away from Quebec City, and her troubles shadowed her.
The mosque was a beginning of something. She was always on call, 24 hours. And I found out that she was more nervous. She was saying, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to respond to a call.
Her condition deteriorated. In March, she was found dead, dressed in her uniform.
She wore her uniform. For me, it's clear. She wanted to send a message that paramedics need help.
She left her a message and saying to us that she couldn't handle that anymore. She could survive to that.
Her family says LeBlanc received 1 hour of counseling after the mosque shooting. She was never diagnosed with PTSD. Now her death is sparking calls for changes to the sort of help Quebec paramedics receive.
People think because you're a paramedic, you are strong and you can face everything, but they still are human.
I hope the loss of Marianne will make a change. That's my hope.
According to her mother, Adrienne LeBlanc had to cope with the deaths of 3 colleagues in the 4 years she worked in Quebec City and Pointe-à-la-Croix, all suicides. Now, a national survey held in late 2016 showed the mental wear and tear endured by first responders. More than 44% of police, paramedics, firefighters, and 911 operators screened positive for symptoms of 1 or more mental disorders. According to Stats Can, the rate among the general population is just 10%.
Well, let's turn to Ontario now, where the political battle for Canada's largest province is now in the final stretch. Voters will choose their next government and premier next Thursday. And after weeks of twists and turns, it's looking like a choice between left and right. Let's take a look at our poll tracker. A neck-and-neck sprint to the finish between Andrea Horwath's NDP and Doug Ford's Tories. It did not look like this a few weeks ago when Ford seemed all but unstoppable. Mind you, his progressive Conservatives are still the odds-on favorites to form government. But as Salima Shivji found out today, it won't be without a fight.
With less than a week to go, the leaders are in enemy territory. The NDP's Andrea Horwath wooing voters in Liberal leader Kathleen Wynne's riding.
To those who have voted Liberal in the past, I invite you to join us to stop Doug Ford.
The strategy is clear. Steal more Liberal votes, with that party now a distant third in the polls, and the NDP and Progressive Conservatives seemingly neck and neck. For the Liberals in these final days, it's simply a battle against annihilation.
They may go down to below 10 seats. They may not even have official party status. And so their challenge is that they need to convince people that have been voting Liberal that it is a risky thing to leave the Liberals.
The PC's Doug Ford is also pushing that message of risk and fear.
That's the radical activist NDP that are trying to form government.
A consistent message.
Andrea Horwath and the NDP. Change for the worse.
But quietly behind the scenes to their supporters, the campaign's message is anti-polls and anti-media. A fundraising letter sent out this week with the subject, "They're lying again," reads, "They're calling it a poll, but it's junk science. But the media is going to report on it like it was fact. Why? Because they don't want us to win. And CBC News has learned the PC campaign is also raising concerns about these new machines that will count the ballots on election night.
It's reminiscent a little bit of what the messaging we heard at the end of the U.S. presidential campaign when there was talk about the election being rigged. If we end up with a very close election result, this kind of language might turn out to be pretty significant in terms of how it undermines confidence in what the results will be.
Political strategy or not, he's certain the last 6 days will see all the leaders in battleground ridings, namely the Greater Toronto area, where the election will be won. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Toronto.
Still ahead, we begin special coverage for National Indigenous History Month. Tonight, a young Cree filmmaker recreates a portrait of her grandfather and finds her place in a long line of leaders.
Head forward. As I was sitting with it and I could feel the weight starting to rest on my neck and my shoulders, it was physically heavy and metaphorically heavy. I could feel the responsibility sitting on my head.
And then down slightly.
Well, life is a highway. It is a highway. Tom Cochrane's been driving fast these days, fueled by his current #1 album, Mad Mad World. He was born in Manitoba, raised in Toronto, and Tom Cochrane's been recording for 17 years. A thoughtful songwriter, Cochrane's always brought a Canadian perspective to his observations. He's just finished a cross-country tour, and boy, are his arms tired. And here's something from it's the newest release from his album. It's called No Regrets.
That's appropriate. You are on fire.
There you go.
Well, you're #1. This you must go, I don't get it. I've been putting this stuff out for 17 years, and all of a sudden, it just clicks.
I guess I'm gonna have to get used to being something other than the underdog, you know. But it's real flattering, you know. It's you know, in a tough market. I've never done anything conventionally, Valerie. It's kind of like going to Yellowknife to golf, but. You know, it's tough out there economically, and I really appreciate the support of the fans. And obviously we're building on that. You know, so it's a bit of a shocker. You never know how a record's going to do, and you try not to think about it. You just,
but,
try to write
music. You've been successful, but you haven't been successful. You haven't been #1. When you say
not
that,
#1 in this market with Michael Jackson, Bryan Adams, and U2. You know, it's pretty.
You just happen to mention that.
Yeah. Overwhelming.
Tell me about Life is a Highway. It's such a great song, and it's such an up song, but the inspiration from it came from a trip to Ethiopia you had, which...
Yeah, Africa, Ethiopia, and Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. And, you know, the thing that I was left with, you know, I did a lot of press and a lot of work afterwards for World Vision, and, you know, it was really draining emotionally, but the thing that I was left with 4 weeks after coming home and that spawned the lyrics in the song, not that the song is directly about the experience, but the song is about that feeling that the people left me with, that in spite of all the hardships and in spite of how tough it got, they're tremendously resilient. The people over there are just wonderful, and the joy they find in the simple things in life when they, you know, when things are going okay and they can function, they live for the moment, you know. And you come back here and we find everything in the West to complain about and worry about, you know, and we can learn from that. So that's, you know, I wanted to write a song that would make people feel good, make them realize that, okay, you just got to be positive and move ahead and try to spread a little bit of, you know, goodwill when you can, and treat people in good faith, and things will work out, and learn from the negative experiences. So that's what, you know, kind of the song was spawned out of, and I was purging myself, I suppose, of a lot of the
Western guilt.
Yeah.
We're so lucky. I have so much food. It makes me feel awful.
But I mean, these things, you know, we deal with them. I'm not saying to ignore the problems. I think, you know, in privileged countries like Canada, we have a duty to help out. But you know, I am saying that, you know, to be debilitated or to get sidetracked with these negative emotions, it's not productive. So.
This is dedicated to your mom and dad?
Yeah.
I always find that so sweet.
I
Because
haven't-
this is, you put out, what, 20 of these?
Yeah.
Do you dedicate them all to your mom and dad, or
I
did you
haven't
just
put out
finally get
20.
around to
This is
them?
my 8th record.
This is a mandatory evacuation order, and it means what it says. It means you must leave.
Tonight on The National, a warning from Hawaiian officials to leave home or face arrest. 1 month after the Kilauea volcano started erupting, a mandatory evacuation has been put in place for part of the Big Island. Officials say the situation near some lava fountains is just too unpredictable, and they don't want residents to get trapped. So far, at least 75 homes have been destroyed. Also tonight, 5 former NFL cheerleaders are suing their former team, the Houston Texans. They say they were routinely body shamed, harassed, and paid peanuts. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. They also say if they complained, it was made clear they'd be fired.
Being a Houston Texans cheerleader meant being a part of something bigger than myself. What I didn't know was being a cheerleader meant being exploited and mistreated and not paid for my time.
Today's legal action comes less than a month after 3 other former cheerleaders sued the Texans. They're also alleging mistreatment and unfair pay. The team did respond with a statement today saying it's constantly evaluating its procedures. Well, it has been an eventful week in the culture wars. The revitalized Roseanne is over, canceled after that online outburst from its notoriously unpredictable conservative star, while across the divide, a liberal progressive star unleashed her own storm of controversy.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless He listens to you.
Samantha Bee offended a lot of people when she dropped that C-bomb on Wednesday. Sponsors pulled their ads. Some people even called for Bee to be fired. But compare that to the reaction to Roseanne Barr's racist tweet the day before, when she compared former Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett, an African-American woman, to an ape conceived by the Muslim Brotherhood. ABC canceled the show outright. And that there have been 2 dramatically different outcomes in these 2 cases has triggered a huge debate between left and right, where the lines are and where they should be. So where is this conversation going, and what is it really about? Well, we have 2 guests with a lot to say about that. Paige Lavender is a senior editor at HuffPost. She's in Washington. And Dalton Higgins is an author, writer, a pop culture and media critic as well. He's joining us out of our studio in Toronto. So hello to the both of you. And Dalton, maybe I'll start with you here because, you know, the fact that these 2 cases are being seen as 2 peas of the same vile pod, is that fair, first of all, in your mind?
It's not fair. It's Roseanne Barr, Samantha Bee, it's apples and oranges, you know, and the reason being is this idea of, you know, white woman sort of hurling an insult at another white woman being somehow, you know, being looked at as being comparable to a white woman who has a history of just a lot of rhetoric, racist remarks, not sure why she was invited back to network television, comparing African-American, you know, White House staffer to an ape, something that is rooted in ages-old prejudices and, you know, racist tropes. It's just not the same thing.
But I mean, the words matter, though, too, right? I take your point about the context, but what is the implication of that? That racism is not okay, that hurling a sexist insult is okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's certainly a bit of a, you know, I guess a hierarchy of, you know, as sad and pathetic as that sounds. I think the implications around when we talk about, you know, race in America and we talk about the temperature, the bar, it's really low. That's been set by the President of the United States. So him, you know, me being black and of African descent and constantly, repeatedly hearing that people of my ilk come from shithole countries, and I just think that, you know, the timing on that, it's not good, and I do think it's yeah, they're just not the same thing, Andrew.
And Paige, where do you stand on this? I mean, were you surprised at where the conversation's gone and smack in the middle of this cultural divide?
Not really surprised at where the White House took this. I really, truly think that if Roseanne hadn't tweeted that earlier this week, we probably wouldn't be having the conversation about Samantha Bee right now. This definitely feels like a case of false equivalency. It seems like the White House has tried to make Sam Bee's comments, I mean, they are offensive, that's definitely true, but, you know, that's certainly not the first time that Samantha Bee has gone after the White House in a really extreme way, and she's certainly not the only one doing that. And so I think that they've really tried to make her an example, you know, kind of an eye for an eye situation here. You know, if Roseanne got fired, why isn't Sam Bee getting fired as well?
But so that's an interesting point. I mean, the idea that if Roseanne's tweet, if Roseanne's tweet never happened, that there wouldn't be this outrage against what Samantha Bee had to say on television. But what comes out of that? I mean, this idea that the outrage isn't real, that it's more about political opportunism?
I mean, I'm sure there is a degree of outrage. I don't doubt at all that Trump and Ivanka and Sarah Sanders and everyone in this White House probably thought that what Sam Bee said was wrong. However, a lot of what this White House has really preached since Trump entered it is about media bias. They are very concerned with, you know, liberals giving a pass to Democrats or fellow liberals in both news media and entertainment media, and then, you know, being extra critical of any conservative figures. And Roseanne Barr right now is maybe one of the biggest conservative figures in the United States. So I think that that's sort of the spin that they're going with. They are kind of using it as a political opportunity to call out, you know, the media's bias against conservatives, and if people aren't outraged about Samantha Bee, you know, why are they outraged about Roseanne, that kind of thing.
And so, Dalton, where does that leave the conversation? Because if Samantha Bee did have a larger point to make, I'm not sure anyone's talking about it right now.
Well, this is the thing. I think that's the tragedy of epic proportions, is that we're talking about, just name-calling, very amateurish, juvenile mudslinging, hitting below the belt. And that's done a great job of obscuring, the fact that we should be talking about, other things, humanitarian crisis in Puerto Rico. And the original point Samantha Bee was trying to make around immigration and separating children from their families, that's like an afterthought. That's something, it's a moot point now because of this sort of baseless, shameless name-calling.
Paige, let me give you the last word. How to break this cycle of tit-for-tat outrage, if we can call it that?
It certainly might help if people stopped the name calling. I don't think that really adds to anything. But, I think eventually people are going to get outrage fatigue and we're going to move on to the next thing. And unfortunately, we're going to see situations like this pop up again. But, that type of rhetoric really distracts from what the real issues at hand are. And hopefully we can move away from that.
Well, it's much more than a 5-minute conversation, but this is a good start. Paige Lavender, Dalton Higgins, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. Every afternoon, we take you inside our journalism and highlight some stories you might have missed. Today, Japan's population is shrinking at a record pace. Why? Subscribe to The National today, cbcnews.ca/The National.
This week, 10 people from around the country gathered in Toronto to decide who is the country's top Monopoly player.
They offered you $300, you're getting $700 for a $60 piece of junk.
These people take their Monopoly seriously, as is only proper. For 2 days, they circled the board, buying Tennessee, building houses on Pennsylvania, going to jail, taking free rides, and most of all, making deals. They were trying unsuccessfully to beat this fellow, the man in yellow, David Brooks. He won his third successive Canadian championship.
Aren't you getting a little old for this?
No, I enjoy it each time I play.
I don't think I've played Monopoly probably for 20 years. I think people think, that's something you leave up at the cottage. It's getting a little moldy.
That's how I've been feeling lately about it, too. But every time the World Championship comes around, it creates more interest. And I start playing it again.
Now, how do you play this? Really viciously? Are you ruthless and cruel?
Most of the time. I just don't give away something for nothing, and if I have to deal, then they're going to come to me for their best deal.
So your personality changes?
Yeah, it does. It's different before the game starts, and it's the same before the game starts as it is after the game is over.
Yeah. But while you're playing, you're a robber baron.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Now, how do you do this? Does anything go in Monopoly?
No. There's a lot of property on the board that I won't buy. I don't even get involved in.
What's garbage?
What's garbage? The greens.
Pacific
Okay.
Avenue, Pennsylvania,
Yes.
okay.
In a short game or with the minimal amount of money that you start with, you'll never get enough money to properly build them up and win the game with them. Most people get them in trades, and then, you know, they end up with a set.
Now,
But
Bill
it's-
Cameron, who thinks he's the best Monopoly player champion in the world, I think you play him sometime. He swears by what? New York Avenue, Tennessee Avenue, and St. James Place.
That's a good monopoly to have. People land on them a lot. And the rent, the houses is not that expensive to build. They're only $100 a piece. So most of the time you have cash to develop them, which is the whole idea.
What about Boardwalk and Park Place?
Number one.
You gotta have
You
that.
gotta have those.
With mega hotels,
I'd rather have them
houses.
on my side than worrying about landing on them, because they're the only two properties on the board that with one roll of the dice, someone is out of the game.
What about
you
railroad?
land on Bill's set there,
You can still
you always
survive.
have survival money.
What about the railroads and the utilities?
I don't buy them either.
You don't buy railroads
No,
and
they go
utilities?
up for auction each and every time I land on them. The only time I'll buy a railroad is if someone has 3 and it's the 4th one. I will buy it and then sell it to him for, you know, he'll be interested.
How do you win the Canadian Championship 3 times in a row? I mean, basically, you figure it's all luck. You either roll them or you don't. You go to jail.
Well, I think the difference between me and the other players is other players will sit and watch 2 people make a deal. And it doesn't involve them, so they'll just watch what happens and let the 2 people deal. But anytime 2 people deal, I'm paying 2 rents right now. Those people deal, and now they each have a set. Now I'm paying hotels and houses on each of those, so I don't want that to happen. So I will intervene in every deal going and take the side of the person who I think is getting the worst of the deal.
When headdresses make headlines, it's usually because of images like this. Supermodel Carly Kloss wearing the sacred headgear during a 2012 Victoria's Secret fashion show. Or this Coachella festival goer scorned online after donning what she initially saw as a, quote, beautiful feathered hat. But it was this photo of singer-songwriter Pharrell Williams on the cover of LUK that inspired a Cree filmmaker to take action. Her name is JJ Neepin from the Fox Lake Cree Nation in Manitoba. And at first, she says she had mixed feelings about the Pharrell photo. She says she thought it was a beautiful photo of a great artist. But then the anger set in. Today marks the start of National Indigenous History Month. And CBC Short Docs has been working with Indigenous filmmakers, giving them a platform to share their stories through their eyes. So tonight, we begin with Neepin's. She decided to recreate this portrait of her great-grandfather, and she made a film about it called Headdress. Take a look.
My name is JJ Neepin. I'm a filmmaker here in Winnipeg. I'm part of the Fox Lake Cree Nation. To me, the headdress is a symbol of leadership. It's something earned. A collective had to put it on your head. So that's why I have a lot of mixed feelings about even doing this in the first place. I'm both excited and also like terrified. It's a proud, scared combo. I remembered our great-grandfather's portrait, and I thought, wouldn't that be kind of cool to recreate that portrait? Well, who could I get to do that? And then I thought, well, why can't I do it? My great-grandfather was a chief, my father was a chief, so I come from a line of leaders, and it's quite a lineage and something to live up to, or at least I hope I can. So, so we're gonna be recreating this today.
My name is Nadia Kwandabens. I'm from Animkay Wajing First Nation. It's formerly called the Northwest Angle 37 First Nation. A headdress is something not to be taken lightly. It's not something that you can just throw on at Coachella and dance around and go crazy, party with. That's totally not what it's for. It's a responsibility that you have to your nation and your fellow man. These are things that we wear that have significance.
When non-Indigenous people put on like a headdress, they don't quite understand the weight that those symbols have. And then just to wear it like a prop, it's very disrespectful. I didn't think much about it at first. It didn't offend me, only because I wasn't very educated on it. I was pretty ignorant to a lot of our culture and traditions early on. I'm only just started educating myself about it. So I certainly see it a lot more now. But in the beginning, yeah, it just didn't bother me, didn't offend me. I actually thought it looked kind of cool seeing a headdress on a white person. I'm like, hey, that's neat. See, now after you said it looks like he's listening to someone talk, that's all I see
Yeah,
now.
like he's leaned in towards
yeah, and someone caught him in mid-listen. Just because I'm Native, it's not okay that I'm putting on a headdress. That's not a good enough reason. You know, I need to earn it. Sometimes it's okay to be ignorant if you're willing to learn. I want to tell this because, yeah, I want to start a conversation and explain it to people. I think it's important. And a lot of times people will listen if you just calmly and in an interesting way tell them why it's important, why. Just tell them why. So. Okay. This is fun. What do we do? Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, it's on there solid. Okay. Okay.
When JJ was first putting it on, it was pretty powerful. And slightly head forward, top of your head forward. Good.
As I was sitting with it and I could feel the weight starting to rest on my neck and my shoulders, it was physically heavy and metaphorically heavy. I could feel the responsibility sitting on my head.
Eyeline down slightly, perfect.
There's a reason behind everything, and I feel like I got guided and then pushed and put here for a reason, so.
And I think it's important to think in new ways and to remember old ways.
We don't discuss it enough, you know, or people don't ask enough. This is why you do what you do. I just hope good things come from it.
Now, if you're wondering where Neepin got the headdress she was wearing in that story, she says it was loaned to her by a former Manitoba Grand Chief, but there were some conditions. That she promised to handle the headdress with care and respect, that she made sure that only Neepin or her sister would touch it, and that she would wear it no more than 3 times. You can see more short docs by Indigenous filmmakers at cbc.ca/short docs. And the National will also be showcasing some of their stories throughout the month. And this Sunday on the National, they are young, they're Indigenous, and they're weaving their culture and history into every design.
It's very much inspired by beadwork itself and really paying tribute to that art form and to what it meant, but in a broad aspect also really paying tribute to my grandmother, who was one of the I'm going to get a little bit emotional, sorry, one of the finest beadwork women, artists that I've known.
We'll introduce you to 2 designers as they get ready to make their runway debut at the first ever Indigenous Fashion Week.
Patrick and Abood collect corn leaves. Abood will analyze them in the makeshift field laboratory. This little laboratory on Reibling's farm represents a major change in approach to agricultural research in Canada.
This research cannot be done on an experiment station by specialists. It has to be done on the farm, basically by farmers, with scientists observing and interpreting and then giving feedback to the farmers. So it's a very different approach to the traditional modes of agricultural research. We start in the lab with a test tube and go in experimental plot and then give it to the farmer as a fait accompli. We want to go to the farmer first.
But it's those traditional modes of research that are used by the government. Their approach is to group scientists and research stations across the country. John Nolan disagrees with Patricken's idea of on-farm research.
If the researchers were so dispersed, how could they maintain the contact with other researchers? They're gathered in centres, in laboratories, on experimental farms and stations to create a critical mass of scientific expertise working as a team. They have to be congregated somewhere in a location that encourages that interaction in the team.
Why isn't the government now falling all over itself to help those people that are working on a system that has proven itself to save the soil and to improve things for future generations?
I think the answer to that is because there are so many other priorities to spend the money on. For example, in the area of biotechnology, there is simply such an exciting field opening up for the manipulation of genetic material in a sense, can be seen to reduce the need for as much land. It's interpreted by some people in that light. So it's a question of having the priorities. And we have just so many dollars, and soil and water is struggling to get its share of those dollars.
The government does more than half the agricultural research in Canada. University scientists do the rest. Research is expensive, and chemical companies finance a lot of it. So more chemical research gets done. In the Maritimes, like everywhere else, farmers are now dependent on chemicals. Many would like to change that, but they're stuck.
A Canadian athlete back from a historic showing at the 2018 Paralympic Games is determined to use his success to inspire others. Mark Arendz had a difficult start in life, suffering a traumatic injury when he was just 7 years old. For him, life has always been about thriving in the face of his disability. And now, as Kayla Hounsell explains, he's bringing that message back home.
How many is that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
What about this guy?
6.
6.
Why do you got a hook on you?
Because I don't have my hand.
Where's your hand?
I lost my hand in an accident.
Mark Arendz finds himself answering some tricky questions when he meets with children. He's here to show off his Paralympic medals at the hospital where doctors saved his life more than 20 years ago. When Arendz was 7, he tripped and fell into a grain auger on his family farm on Prince Edward Island. He tried to use his hands to catch his fall.
My right landed on the shield so that it was fine, but my left did land on the actual shielding of the machine, but only being 7, it kind of went right through, and then instantly I was stuck up to my shoulder in the machine.
His younger brother came in the barn running and yelling, and there's something with Mark. So I rushed out, and then we found him laying in the auger.
Arendz was airlifted to the Regent's Children's Hospital in Halifax in critical condition. That's where his arm was amputated.
The first night, I wasn't even concerned about his arm because at that time his life was in danger. There was only, less than 50% chance that he would make it.
When it became clear Mark would survive, his parents grew concerned about his future.
Well, that was very worrisome because you start thinking, right? What is he going to do with one hand?
But Mark would go on to do a great deal. Only a month after his accident, he was running and playing.
Someone else, can you catch me?
Although still terrified by the sight of a truck delivering grain. At that time, his greatest obstacle was tying his shoes. He went back to Velcro for a year until he saw another child who also had only one arm.
A little girl with a pink dress and pink shoes. And there were some other kids on the stage, but this particular girl tied her shoes. And something happened in Mark, I think. He was so determined that he wanted to tie his shoes too.
2 days later, he could do it. It was perhaps the first example of his conviction when it comes to setting goals. He would go on to be a War Amps volunteer.
Hi, everybody.
high school student.
This is probably the most difficult of the projects we'll do this year.
And a biathlete. First with cadets competing nationally against able-bodied athletes before reaching the Paralympics in Vancouver in 2010. And that's where a childhood dream to be among the best in the world became a realistic target. He came a little closer in Sochi, 2014, missing gold by 0.7 of a second.
We're watching our ends now.
It all came together.
Hasn't missed a shot all day.
In Pyeongchang, 6 races, 6 medals.
And finally, the gold medal will be his.
More than any Canadian has ever achieved in a single Winter Games.
Everything went perfect for me on that day, winning gold, and it was just a relief. It's been a goal for 8 years, and finally to step on that podium and hear that name, hear my name, Paralympic champion, and then "Oh Canada" playing in the Maple Leaf.
He was on top of the world.
Yeah, hasn't really changed that much.
Now living in Canmore, Alberta, he's come back to the Maritimes to share his success with the people who saved his life.
It's wonderful to see you.
Yes. Jennifer Muirhead has been a nurse at the IWK Health Center since Mark was a child.
It's heartwarming. It's wonderful. It was like they were just here, and so it's nice to know that you've made that connection with the family, and 21 years later you still have it.
All the units have a playroom, which I think they probably did then as well.
For Mark, it's the connection with the children that matters most.
Let you get comfortable there?
Yeah, I've been here a long time.
Okay. Eli Rowe is 11 years old.
So this is the logo from Pyeongchang. And right here is what event I won the medal in.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. You got 3 more.
And when he's here, he has all the time in the world.
Why is that one silver?
Because I was second place in that race.
Yeah, but how did you win all that?
How did I win them? I had to ski really, really fast.
4-year-old Elliot has cerebral palsy. Mark wants him and all children to know there will be better days.
I just wanted to inspire that dreaming becomes a goal, and then they can go and chase after that goal.
I like your arm.
Thank you.
It's funny.
Yeah, and I can do that.
For him, medals smeared with fingerprints and worn ribbons mean he's done something right.
I want as many people as I can to hold them and in that moment be inspired to do whatever they want to do.
He says it was the accident that taught him the importance of community.
The day after my accident, 12 strangers came to the farm and some had never stepped foot on a farm, and they just wanted to be there to help. Whatever they could do, they wanted to help. Oh, yes!
Back home on PEI, his parents couldn't be more proud.
They helped him when he was in need, so if you can give back to, that by just a visit, sorry.
With the next generation of little hands holding the results of big dreams, Mark Arends has already set another goal. He circled the date on his calendar for Beijing 2022.
Only 1,400 more days.
Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Halifax.
That's great. So let's change the pace, though, with our moment of the day, because no good deed goes unpunished. Everyone knows that. And once again, it was proven true, this time in Alberta, for a man just gallantly trying to help some geese cross the road, as you do. The birds weren't entirely grateful, and the whole affair, naturally, was caught on tape.
Look, I fell down too.
Oh my goodness. Oh, he might hit his head. Oh, the poor guy. He's just trying to help.
Does he want some help?
I don't know.
I could.
Come on. No, he can do it. Oh, the poor little thing. Just pick him up. Don't park it in the middle of this side, dear.
That's fine. There we go.
Ah, there he goes.
Okay, this is some dangerous business. I have to say, I like the fact that this isn't even the best Edmonton goose story in the past month or so. Just last month, a man had to call police because one of those things, they're not just mean, they're thieves, took his car keys, and the cop said this is normally something for wildlife control, and they were busy with the moose, so, you know, it's dangerous. Be careful.
Sorry, what?
I know.
Why wasn't that our moment of the day? That would have been so much better. Well, I can just say, as the parent of a 3-year-old, I know not all help is necessarily needed nor wanted. A universal truth, perhaps. That's The National for this Friday, June 1st. Have a great night.
Good night.